A Christmas Gift from Bob was released in 2020. This is, of course, the sequel to A Street Cat Named Bob. This is directed by Charles Martin Smith. It's written by Garry Jenkins. And we have a cast including Luke Treadaway as James and Bob the Cat as Bob the Cat. And I learned something before watching this that made it a really emotional experience, even more so than I was expecting to be the case. I won't share that information just now, just in case you want to go into it without it being too emotional, but at the end I want to discuss it just really briefly, so I'll mention that at the end. And there won't be any spoilers in this, but I will go into a little bit of detail. And basically, the animal welfare want to take Bob away from James at Christmas because they don't believe he's capable of looking after him. And if you're unaware of the story, Bob was a street cat and he met James, who was living on the street, and they became really close friends. And Bob is an absolutely just incredible cat, such an amazing cat. And it's clear that Bob brought a lot of light into James's life. And here we have animal welfare threatening to take Bob away at Christmas as well. Now, I honestly don't know how I feel about that. Because on the one hand, if Bob is what is keeping James going, then I support that. This was an opinion that I developed quite a few years ago, but forever growing up, I used to think if a homeless person has a dog, it's really selfish because the dog deserves to be in a warm house and with food all of the time, which I still believe. But then I read something that basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, I can't even remember where I read it, but it basically said the dog is keeping that person alive. And it's their reason to keep going. And that really changed my mind about it. And that's why I'm kind of in two minds with how I feel about this narrative. On the one hand, Bob is there for James and really has changed his life. But at the same time, if he can't look after Bob, then it's the right thing for somebody to step in. But at the same time, Bob isn't neglected. He clearly has his basic needs met. So it has me quite divided, but for the most part, I think Bob should be staying with James, and that is what I hoped would happen. And I'm not going to say what happens, but I certainly feel quite conflicted with my own opinions about the actual narrative. But I did find that it was a really interesting story, and obviously emotional and moving and quite joyful at times. James is busking and he sings a Jingle Bob song, which I just absolutely loved. And that's kind of the point when I started sobbing with that song. I from that point on, I was a bit of an emotional wreck, and I will talk more about that at the end. It's festive enough. It's not the most Christmassy film, but there is enough in it, and it's quite heartwarming and moving. And if you're a cat person or an animal person in general, you might find it difficult to watch for the right reasons, because it's a powerful story with a lot of emotions. But it's not a film I'd want to watch again. We have some great camera work, some great editing. We get a great look at community spirit, people there to support James and try and encourage a positive outcome. It's very uplifting. And if you're a cat person, I think you'll find it to be very moving. The technical aspects are all great. The storytelling is brilliant. I don't ever want to watch it again. But I'm glad that I gave it a chance. I'm glad that I watched it once. And if you've seen the first film, you don't necessarily need to have seen the first film to see this, but in terms of the emotional journey, I think it will make it a stronger experience. But either way, if it sounds like a film for you, I'd say it's definitely worth watching. And I will now tell you very briefly the emotional thing that I learned before watching this, which made it just really even more challenging to watch. And this is the fact that apparently Bob died in a car accident about 6 months after filming this. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So just watching this, knowing that was his tragic end, just months after filming this, months after they were singing Jingle Bob, and it broke me. Obviously, it would have been tragic if he'd died of old age. That's always going to be upsetting. I don't care how a cat dies, it's going to break me. But for such a powerful soul in James's world, and a cat beloved by many, to meet such a tragic end. It was horrible. I wish I didn't know it watching it, because it did make it more challenging. But it's horrible. I don't want to think about it, but I just thought that was worth sharing, because I feel like it's worth saying it in Bob's memory. I hate it. I hate it. The film itself, very powerful. If it sounds like a film for you, then obviously I'd say A Christmas Gift from Bob is definitely worth watching.